So we just got some breaking news from Tim Bontemps of ESPN, who says that the Miami Heat are looking to do nothing. No, that's literally what his report says, and y'all wonder why I hate NBA reporting. I mean, I guess the gist of his report basically says that given the nature of the East basically being trash, and the Miami Heat already had a plan to evaluate their current roster, they have decided not to change that. I mean, that's just a stupid report, but you could say that about 99% of the news that we get coming out during the NBA season. But anyways, of course, as a Heat fan, we're not surprised because TLTRAR, which of course stands for they like their team, accept reality, a phrase that I think was coined by Barry Jackson, or it's something that Pat Riley said in a press conference, and now Barry kind of mocks it because we've been hearing that term for the last several seasons, which is basically to justify the front office not making any moves and having a team that was a contender, been to a couple NBA finals, and just decided to do nothing to get any better. And it is a little disappointing, and I will add some context that I am a bit sad now as a Heat fan because I'm recording this just the day after Eric Spoelstra's all-time flub, where he called a timeout versus the Magic, in which they didn't have any, essentially robbing the Heat's insane comeback led by Tyler Herro. And I will say, almost 24 hours later since that game, I don't feel any better. I still feel terrible. I still feel sick, and I'm not sure that I'll ever get over that. But anyways, of course, given the fact that the Heat have lost some pretty brutal games this year, and they're currently sitting at 4-6 with Jimmy Butler currently injured, it's once again leading to another discussion on what moves the Heat should make. And more importantly, given how given how damn amazing Tyler Herro is playing this season, it's led a huge discussion on who should the Heat trade from their core. Who should they build around? And that's kind of what I want to get into today. So I'm going to kind of look at the core three of Jimmy, Tyler, and Bam and talk about each of them so far this season, what their trade value is, and who I would build around moving forward, because I don't think we could continue running it back, especially not this season, because it would just be a wasted season if we did that. So anyways, I want to start by talking about Tyler Herro, who I want to give his flowers because I've always loved Tyler Herro. People think I'm a Herro hater. I've never been a Herro hater, but I haven't been afraid to be critical of him nor anyone else. I don't think I'm more critical of him than any other player just because I consider myself a realist. When you play well, I'm going to give you your credit. When you play bad, I'm going to tell you play bad. This is a reaction commentary channel on the Miami Heat. I have to do that. I can't just sit here every video and say, oh, he was bad, but he'll be better. Like, I'm going to call it how I see it. But anyways, this season, Tyler Herro has been absolutely amazing, and I have the utmost respect for him because of it. Because, of course, even Pat Riley was out there in the offseason calling him fragile and being very critical of him, not just this past offseason, but really the last couple. So for him to really get into the gym and hustle and grind and work on what he knows he needed to work on, which is the efficiency, the shot diet, and all those things, to come into this season and looks like he's just fixed all of it. Like, he just took a major leap in all the areas that we have been critical of him, and I have the utmost respect for him because of it. Even with his answers, going back to media day, when he's saying he just wants to win the championship, he's here to have fun, he trusts in the coach. Even after yesterday's game, where he had an all-time performance and Spoelstra kind of ruined it. Tyler could have went into the locker room all salty, but no, Tyler said, listen, Spo's one of the greatest coaches of all time. The best players in the world make mistakes. So do the best coaches. And I'm going to ride with Spo till basically till the wheels fall off. Just the perfect answer. So from a media standpoint, from an on-the-court standpoint, everything has been perfect with Tyler Herro. And quite literally, I have no complaints. I mean, look at his numbers this season. He's up to 25 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. So staying versatile. Did take a big jump in the facilitating game, which is something that's critical to, of course, developing his offense. And the efficiency's just been ridiculous. 51% from the field for a guy that's taking primarily jumpers. 48% from 3 on 10 attempts is just wild. Now, of course, it's only been a 10-game sample size, and as the season goes on, I do expect the efficiency to decrease slightly, but even when it does decrease, he's still going to be one of the most efficient shooters in all of basketball. And it's not just like he's hitting all these wild, crazy shots and it's not sustainable and the wheels are going to fall off. No. What he's doing looks very, very sustainable. You're having a lot of people saying he's successful because he's playing an off-ball role with Terry as the point guard. I don't think that's the case. Tyler Herro is still pretty ball dominant. He has the ball in his hands a lot to run pick and rolls, to do his dribble pull-ups. It's just where he's taking these shots that I think has led to such an improvement in his game. Because, of course, in years past, he was a pretty heavily mid-range shooter, which the analytics will tell you, layups and threes. That's what Spoelstra kind of hammered into these guys in the preseason training camp as well. And that's what Tyler Herro is doing now. He's essentially not eliminated the mid-range from his game, but it's just a small fraction of his game, which is good to have. Of course, you need that mid-range pull-up jump shot. It's great for clutch time when you need to get a closer basket. So I love that he's still able to do it, but outside of the small fraction of mid-range jump shots that he's taking, it's threes and it's layups. He's taking 17 shots a game, 10 of those are three. And obviously, when you're hitting it at the ridiculous clip he is, you're going to be one of the best scorers in the NBA. I do feel like he's getting to the rim very well. He's finishing with both hands very well. So scoring-wise, the versatility is amazing. And he once again took another leap as a playmaker. We've seen flashes in years past. He'd have an 8-assist game here, an 11-assist game there. But it really hasn't carried over on a consistent basis. But this year, that's not the case. We're seeing him find Bam Adebayo. We're seeing him find guys back door on the cut. And the playmaking has looked amazing. So that begs the question, if you were to let go of Terry Rozier, could he be the primary one? I'm not sure he's ready for that yet. We have seen Tyler Herro as the point guard in the past. It hasn't been great, but that was a couple years ago. He's a much better player now, so I could see it working. I'm just not sure I trust it yet. I am a fan of getting a true facilitator in the point guard role on this team. That's not Terry Rozier at this point, which, by the way, we're not going to talk a ton of Terry today. I'll probably get a video out about him very soon because his struggles have been abysmal, but we talked about that enough in the post game yesterday. Make sure y'all go check that out. But I'd love for the Heat to find a way to acquire a true point guard. I was begging they could get Tyus Jones. We see him doing amazing with Phoenix now. Y'all know I love Isaiah Stevens, who's busting ass in the G League right now. I don't know if he's ready to be a starter, but ideally I'd like to pair Tyler with a point guard who can kind of facilitate, and that way Tyler can focus on more so scoring and sprinkling the facilitating. But as it stands right now, Tyler Herro is doing an exceptional job in the role that he's being asked of. And as far as building the team around him, well, from a contractual standpoint, it works out quite well. He's on the second year of his 4-year rookie extension, where he's only making $29 million a year. He's making $31 next year and $33 million the year after that. For a player of his caliber that we're seeing this season, that's an absolute steal. It really, really is. Now, we'll talk more about the building around part each of these guys once we finish talking about Tyler, Bam, and Jimmy. So I want to move on to Bam Adebayo this year, who is no secret. One thing that cannot be debated amongst Heat fans, even though I'll have some people in my comments try to debate it, is that Bam Adebayo has been disappointing. Numbers-wise, he's at 15 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists on an abysmal 41% from the field and 22% from 3 on 2 attempts. Something that's very disappointing considering all the talk we've heard about his three-point shooting from him, not from the media and from fans, but also from Bam, from what we saw in the Olympics, from what we saw in preseason. All of that just turned out to be a fluke so far, somehow, through 10 games. Now, of course, I want to preface everything I'm about to say, which he can turn this all around. It's only been 10 games, and the sample size that we've seen from Bam Adebayo the last several years is much bigger than the bad Bam Adebayo we've seen so far this season. You could say the same thing for Tyler Herro too, of course, because the 10 games we've seen of Tyler Herro so far is much smaller than the Tyler Herro we've seen in the last few years. But Tyler Herro is a young player, so usually those players get better as they go on. They improve. That's why I never really liked people when people talked about Herro as a finished product. Like, he's a 23, 24-year-old kid. He's going to get better. And like I was saying, his shots look sustainable. Whereas a guy like Bam Adebayo, he's turning, 26, 27. He should starting to be inching closer towards his prime. And so far through this season, he's taken a major step back. The aggressiveness looks remnants of what we saw 2-3 years ago, where he was scared to shoot. We're seeing many times this season he's catching the ball at the top of the key, and he's supposed to be able to shoot that now, or at least get the shots off to make the defense respect it a little bit. He's got a beautiful form, but he doesn't do it. So instead, Jusuf Nurkic is backing 15 feet off, and Rudy Gobert's backing 15 feet off. Sabonis, and it's clogging up the paint entirely, and it's really, really caused this team to, not the main reason, but a big reason why this offense has struggled so much is because Bam was a guy who averaged almost 20 points per game last year. So to already be all the way down at 16, with the very poor efficiency. I mean, 41% from a big man from your center is just, it's terrible. It's worse than terrible. It really, really is. But more so for me, it's the aggressiveness that's been disappointing. I am a little optimistic Bam will turn it around because I don't think it's a skill thing. I think one game he will be able to break through that mental wall, and hopefully he can build off that. But I'm not entirely sure. They'd have that 30-piece versus Washington, and then it was same old after that. So I am hoping he turns around because he did just sign his max extension. I'm getting a little fear. He's got a little bit of that fat cat syndrome in him, like we saw from my boy Hassan Whiteside, but I'm not going to do that yet. So relax. And of course, I can't go without saying, defensively, he will always be one of the best players in the NBA. I don't want to discount what he does on that side of the ball because he is amazing. Now, he hasn't been as good through 10 games. He has struggled a little bit, but I do have the utmost faith that he'll at least turn the defense around. And of course, when he has been shooting poor, he's had games with 6 assists, 7 assists. So he's a versatile player in that regard where he's not giving you nothing if he's not hitting his shot. But for the money he's getting paid, he has to take and make more shots. That's just the truth of it. Because this season he's making $34 million, next year $37, and then it's the year after that where his 3-year extension kicks in which he'll be making over $51 million for the next 3 years, including a player option. You cannot have a guy get paid that much money just to play defense and shoot 41%. It cannot happen. Now, as far as trade value, I still feel like he has the most trade value on this team because obviously he's a 6'9", versatile, athletic freak who has shown that he can score 20 points per game. But we'll kind of get into his trade value a little bit more after we talk about Jimmy Butler, who this season has already missed a couple games due to an ankle injury. And in the games he's played, he's averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists on 48% from the field. And then once again, a terrible 15% shooting from 3. I was hoping he would get a jump there because he did shoot the 3 ball nice last year, 40+%. That hasn't carried over this season, at least not through 10 games. But listen, we know what it is with Jimmy. You're going to get what you get with him. We thought that because he was in a contract year, he'd go off this year. I didn't necessarily buy into that because I was trying to cautious people. He's not technically in a contract year because you can see this year he is making $48 million. But next year he actually has a player option for $52. So I had said all offseason, worst case scenario, he doesn't have a great year. He would opt into that $52 million next year. And if things continue playing out the way they currently are with him, he's going to opt into that money. And then next year would technically be that contract year for Jimmy Butler. But the reason I don't want to harp on his game too much is because we know how great a player he is when he's active and engaged. A lot of people, I guess, including myself, thought that he just didn't take the regular season seriously because he needs to preserve himself for the playoffs. But we said, okay, last season he did that. They were the 7th seed, and because of that, had to be in the play-in tournament. And then, of course, he got hurt in the play-in. So we said, hey, Jimmy, don't take as many games off. That way you can avoid the play-in and not have to play the 76ers where you're at risk of getting hurt like you did last year. But what I'm coming to realize is that maybe Jimmy just can't take less games off. Maybe he knows himself in his body and says, hey, if I want to be playoff Jimmy come April, then I need to take 50% of the regular season off. You know, not saying he'll miss 50% of the games, but saying when he does play, he's not going to be out there taking 20 shots a game, getting to the line 10 times a game like we're accustomed to, because maybe he can't. So I think the bigger discussion revolving around Jimmy Butler is his body and what he can hold up to at his age of 35, you know, because that's not super, super young, especially for a guy who played under Tom Thibodeau for all those years on multiple teams, for a guy who relies on getting to the basket, drawing fouls, hitting the floor every time he drives. Similar thing we saw with D Wade, right? Those are two guys who don't really rely on the jumper, and because of that, he's not going to age as well as Kevin Durant. He's not going to age as well as a Steph Curry. Obviously, LeBron is a different specimen, so you can't compare no one to him. And trade value-wise, obviously that's been a lot of topic of discussion. You hear rumors to the Warriors. Maybe you could get Kuminga. You hear rumors to the Nets, which doesn't make any sense. But, of course, I think there'd be a lot of contenders that might be interested in acquiring Jimmy Butler. And at this point, I still think he's worth a couple first-round picks and maybe a young player or two. But if he comes back this season and looks how he started, teams are not going to be willing to give up as much as they would have in the off season. Now, what I want to talk about now is who I would build around going forward. and it pains me to say after a night like Tyler Herro had last night, but I have been a proponent of fully building around Jimmy for the last couple of seasons. That being said, I'd be willing to get rid of all the young assets that you have to win now. And obviously, a lot of the pushback that I get on that is, oh, why would you push all your assets to the table for a 1 or 2 year championship window? And that's because it is insanely difficult to even get a 1 or a 2 year championship window. You know how many teams would beg for, would die for that? And I think Jimmy Butler is the caliber of player that you can win a championship with, although it hasn't happened yet. And guys like that just don't fall off trees. I mean, you've seen what Jimmy Butler has done in the playoffs time and time and time again. Do not take that for granted. He is a superstar to the highest degree because when the games matter most, he is at his best. And there's not many players out there like that. And frankly, you don't win championships with guys like Tyler Herro. You win championships with guys like Jimmy Butler, who can assert himself on both ends of the floor the way that we've seen from Jimmy the last several playoffs. Even in that play-in game versus Philly, he was an absolute monster defensively until, of course, he hurt his knee. So because of that reason, I said you got a guy like Jimmy Butler. I think you owe it to him to go all out around him, which means trading Tyler Herro, which means trading Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic. A lot of Heat fans don't love it because they love those young guys, and I do too. But I don't think my decision has changed on that because deep down, I still believe Jimmy Butler has at least 1 or 2 more playoff runs in him. Of course, the issue is his body can't last a regular season, so I'd like to maybe bring in someone who can help contribute right now to help that, which I guess you could say is Tyler Herro in a sense. And truthfully, if Tyler Herro continues this level of play, that will change my mindset because he maybe is a guy that can be that complementary piece to help you get over the hump because he has taken another massive leap to all-star caliber this season, which has made it harder for me to say that I'm willing to let him go. But I should clarify, I'm not saying trade him for a low-tier player. I'm saying if a Damian Lillard is out there again, like he was last year, I wouldn't do that this year because Dame's taking a big step down. But last year I would have did that. Some Heat fans wouldn't have did that. If a Giannis was to become available, if that team starts going off the rails, I would trade Tyler Herro for Giannis. You know, you have no idea who the next superstar is that might ask out. And if that does happen, I would be willing to let go of Tyler Herro because there's a difference between a superstar and Tyler Herro. And I just don't think Herro is there yet. Maybe he can get there, but by the time he gets to that level, it'll be too late for Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler is a superstar right now. That's why I take that chance and build around him. Now, I do want to say I understand every side of this. If you're one of those people who wants to trade Jimmy Butler because you think he's washed and you want to build around Bam and build around Tyler, I 1,000% understand that because I'm not 100% confident Jimmy's going to turn it around. Maybe last year was the start of his decline and it only gets worse. And he's probably going to opt out of his player option in this season, you know, whether he gets worse or not, because he's going to want a long-term deal. And now you're going to be having to give long-term money to a guy who's already starting to break down. You could put this team in even worse of a salary cap hell. So if you're willing to trade Jimmy Butler and get some nice young pieces, build around them and Tyler and Bam and Jovic and Jaime, I 1,000% get it. And I don't disagree with that logic. I frankly don't. So basically, this entire point of this video was just to say really that I see both sides of it. The one thing that I don't think I agree with, which a lot of Heat fans are saying, is that, or some Heat fans are saying that they would trade Bam. I don't think I can do that. I think you can find guys who can do what Tyler Herro can do from a scoring perspective. I think there's guys out there that could do what Jimmy Butler could do. For example, if you were to trade Jimmy for Giannis, not that the Bucks would do that, but their superstars can do that. Bam he's a rare breed. A guy with that kind of versatility on defense, that's a rare breed. And when you consider part of the reason the Heat have been so successful over the last 5 years versus the juggernaut Bucks, who aren't going anywhere, by the way, if they do keep Giannis, that team's not going anywhere. Giannis is still young. A major reason you've been successful versus them is because of Bam. You letting go of Bam, I think all of a sudden the Milwaukee Bucks could walk all over you. And if Giannis does stay there the rest of his career, well, now that's a team you'd have trouble getting past for the next 6 or 7 years, really. So for that reason alone, I wouldn't trade Bam and about, although it is very difficult to build around him if this is the offensive production you're going to get. So I do just hope that he sort of turns it around. But I think that's all I got to say for this video. I know I've been talking for a while here. So let me know down below your thoughts on what I said. And if you had to pick one of those three to build around, or I guess more so two of those three, who would you pick? Because I'm not sure that you can build around all three. Because when we've seen all three play together, it hasn't been great. You did have a finals run in 2013 or 2023, but Herro got hurt the first game of that playoff run. You did have a finals run in 2020, but Herro was a rookie and didn't have as big a role as he does now. So maybe that's the answer. Maybe relegate Tyler back to the bench. But how can you do that? He's playing out of his mind. Really, the Heat are in a difficult situation, and that's all I'm trying to say. So let me know y'all thoughts down below. I'll be reading every single comment. Make sure to like and subscribe because I'm on the grind to hit 6K subs, and I'll see y'all with the next video. Peace out.
Look, pull up in your city trying to get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.